So good morning, everyone. Thank you. Thanks for coming out this fine morning. Another beautiful morning. Did anybody see the fireball yesterday morning? Travis, you did?
Yeah.
Give that mic. What, Annie, if you don't mind. Travis, how was that? Or what did it look like to you?
It was fantastic. It lit up the entire sky, and I actually thought like a plane was crashing or something for a second. I quickly made a right and tried to follow it and didn't see any smoke or anything. So I was like, well, that was probably a meteor.
Wow.
I didn't have a whole lot of coffee to get though, so and I was trying to navigate the roadways. So safety first.
Wow. Good for you. Did anybody see the news about it last night? It was really interesting. The folks at the Celestial Discovery Center, I guess it was coming right at us, right? Had it been going across the sky, it would have had a long tail, but it didn't have much of a tail, which I gather means it was coming right at us. It was a meteor that, I guess when they get to be so big and so fast, they call it a fireball, right? Not the drink. Not the How you doing, Rosanna? Yeah, Rosanna, you want to say hello or introduce yourself? Or... Everybody knows Rosanna Skelton.
I wish you would put it up. It's a fireball.
A fireball, yeah. Not the drink.
No, it's I brought it up on my phone.
Very good, Jeff.
I didn't hear that last night. It was all about Donald Trump
Let's stick to the celestial fireballs. All right, Jeff, you want to introduce yourself? I don't know if everybody knows Jeff Croft, who's here.
Hi there. Hi.
You got to be close now.
I just don't want to spit in it or anything. Okay. My name is Jeffrey Croft, and I don't know if you recognize the Croft name, but the Croft name has been around the Helena area for at least a generation and a half. Well, there's lots of kids now that are so. But anyway, the most eventful part of my family was my dad and my mother having the ink spot and graphic supply on Cedar Street years ago, and then they moved their business up and down 3 or 4 different locations on the Walking Mall. And then after that, my dad had a business up on Reader's Alley. He coupled with some businessmen up there and had that. And then after that went out, he married Belva Watson, and they created the oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all right.
It's the their they have the well, he died recently, so but I'm sorry because they're trying. She's at this point got the property listed on for sale. It's really sad, but it was a beautiful auditorium near Jefferson City.
Okay.
And if you ever get a chance to go up there before they close to good. But yeah, he and Melva built that up.
Good old time Helena family. Well, thank you for coming this morning, Jeff.
And
good to see you.
My dad actually had me come to these meetings years ago when it was
That's right, you said. Yeah. Peter Sullivan probably your dad. So did Dewey Skelton. Dewey Skelton's here with us. That's Rosanna's husband still, right? You guys still under the same roof? Yeah. Isle Lake Gardens, all right. Welcome, Dewey. Thanks for coming. Anybody else here for the first time? Anybody like to? Let's see if we got the intro centered at all. Yeah, Tim.
Morning, everyone. Tim Joyce from Helena Food Share, and I'd like to introduce our new executive director, Jordan Evers.
Good morning.
Thanks for having me. I'm the new executive director for Helena Food Share. Excited to be here and have already met some awesome people so far this morning, so thanks.
Well, welcome, Jordan. And what did you do previously, Jordan? I read that, but then it's escaping me.
Yeah, so I worked with children in the children's mental health field for the last 10 years.
Yeah,
Yep.
very good, very good.
Yep, so transitioning, and we have our turkey challenge coming up at the library next Friday from 10 to 5, 9 to 5?
5:30, 10 to
10 to 5:30. So we'd love to see if you would like to stop by and say hi.
Yeah, and bring a turkey. A frozen
Bring a turkey, bring some money, bring some happy good
Yeah,
check.
bring it. And you know, I mentioned in the little write-up this week that if Tim Joyce will show up with his turkey suit on, I'll bring a turkey here next Thursday morning. So I'm planning to do that. Tim, you gonna get that suit back from the cleaners? All right.
It's being tailored right now.
You're letting it out a little bit, huh?
Yes.
Good year for the turkey. So if you're so inclined, bring a turkey or a turkey breast or some Thanksgiving fixins here next Thursday morning. We'll do that. That'll be fun. Or money, yeah, checkbook, cash, Venmo. Emily McVeigh's gone, but she's a Venmo girl. Oh, there she is. Yeah, talk to Emily about Venmo, right? Whatever that is. Not sure myself. Emily Frazier's here with us. Emily, how you doing? How's the Helena Area Community Foundation?
The Helena Area Community Foundation is recently relocated, so we've been moving for a little bit. So now we're in the Liberty Square building, which has been getting very nicely renovated. So we are in Suite 102, which is downstairs, and we have more space than ever before, and we'd love to welcome any of you to come by. Is it okay if I speak in an announcement or two?
Yeah, please.
So Emily and Faye and I have both been helping the Blue Montessori teachers. It's actually a parents that have put together a fund. As many of you probably already heard, they were not only left without work earlier than they were told it would be, but they were paid for the month that they did work. And some of the people who left even in September, it looks like they're chasing bounced. So we are doing our best to ensure that they are helping them get what they need to get through while they get new jobs. So it's a pretty sad situation, but the community, as usual, has been amazing. That fund raised over $16,000 in about a week, and we're going to start distributing that to teachers tomorrow morning. So please continue to be generous. Good reminder to all of us, election years are pretty crummy for nonprofits. Some people put money into politics instead of into charities. So if you are one of the people who can afford to do both and, please do this. This fourth quarter, nonprofits are really counting on you. And on a happier note, registration is already open for the Helena Holiday Cruise. So if you want to go look at the lights around Helena, we've got trolleys available and a full adventure bus rentals too. So if you want to have a family or company party, sign up. That part's all on our website. So that's everything I've got.
That's a good time. Please give our best to Vanessa Nason, who was the founder of Blue Montessori, formerly a principal at one of the grade schools here. Really a good, wonderful lady. I mean, it's so sad what happened to that organization. Anyway, give her our best, please, Emily.
They are having a fundraiser tonight at 10 Mile. The parent group that reached out to us to put this fund together has been really amazing. They put on a fundraiser at the Art Walk, and then they're doing a fundraiser tonight at 10 Mile. Max Hay is playing tonight, and they'll be collecting money for that fund for the teachers group.
And just a reminder, this money is just going to the employees, not to the director, not to the school. Just to the employees who are paid.
Not to the embezzler.
Yeah, just to the staff that worked there as of September through November 5th. So there's been some parameters put around it to ensure that the staff that were working there towards the end get those paychecks that they didn't get. So yeah, there's good parameters around it. The parent group has been really great supporting that teacher group. On the United Way note, we have a fundraiser coming up this weekend. I was hoping Jeff would jump on to give me some more details that he was working on yesterday. We're doing a thing similar to Fill the Boot like the fire department does, but we're calling it Take It to the Streets. We'll have a bunch of people out on the street corners with cardboard signs asking for money to help support the Helena Civic Project. We're still fundraising to purchase that building, so Saturday from 12 to 2, we'll be out with cardboard signs that have some creative messaging, collecting funds for the Helena Civic.
Great. 48, something about $48, right?
Yep, that's another one. Yep.
That's another one. Well, very good. Thank you both, Emily and Emily. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. That's,
I'm Christina Bartone from the Military Museum of Art, and I just wanted to get here this morning to, most of you may have seen on social media that David Spencer passed away yesterday morning, and he's been a fixture at the Holter and in Helena for decades, and we will be having, we were going to be doing a retirement party for him December 20th. So we are shifting that to a celebration of life. There's many of us that are getting together to ensure that his book collection in his apartment is taken care of, and he has no next of kin except for the community of Helena. So if you have anything you want to add to the celebration of life, I don't remember the email address off the top of my head, but go to either Merlin's Facebook page or the Holter's Facebook page, and you can share pictures and stories we'll be working on. Writing an obituary, and that's going to take a little bit for us to pull together because everybody loves David, but there's not a lot of details about his personal life. So I just wanted to let everybody know, if you're not on social media, you may not have gotten the news.
yeah, thank you, Christina. I guess we're having a little moment of silence for David here. Yeah. He was a one-man bookmobile. You know? Those of you who might not know, he was the book guy. You see him all over town the last 30, 40 years. You know who I mean, Senator Dunlop? Yeah. And it was sudden and unexpected. Right? And I texted down my brother-in-law, Peter Hell, down in Phoenix, and formerly was the director of the Holter, and might have been where David started volunteering when Peter was the director. But yeah, what a tragedy. Let's look for that and see if we can get to the Holter on December 20th, I think? Yeah.
We believe the fireball was David.
Say it loud.
We believe the fireball was David.
Oh, yeah. Like Haley's Comet or something. Dan, what?
Just some food for thought.
Life goes on. Yeah, I'm sorry.
You might have seen on the post we got for the meeting today, somebody was commenting on the age of calendars. The Christian being a couple thousand years old, the Jewish 5,700 years old. But that thought is 10 or 12 miles south of us is an archaeological site where natives have been gathering for 6,500 years ago. So we've been gathering in the Helena Valley for a long time. If we think statewide, there's a site down on the Shield River where Azor Boy was found, and they carbon dated the artifacts that was buried with him to 13,500 years ago. And he has, they have done DNA on him, and about 80% of Native Americans living today can trace their DNA back to him. So we didn't need that calendar. But you know, that fireball reminds me of my Irish friends, and they used to see that as they snuck home early in the morning.
Very good. Thanks, Dan. Yeah, John.
You know, the reason Dan knows the natives were there 6,500 years ago, he was there playing drums.
How do you know I wasn't on my flute?
Anyway, most of you know me, I'm John Jackson, and as we all are, we're all involved in many things in our community to make the community go. I'm a member of the East Helena United Methodist Church, and before our young man who's on the council for East Helena Community gets up and announces, the 5th of December will be the Christmas stroll in East Helena, and that's where they block off the main street so people can walk up and down and enjoy starting the season. Well, about 2 blocks after the stroll, the streets closed off, is the East Helena United Methodist Church going east, and that same evening we're having a soup supper. It's a fundraiser for our free will fund, and we use that money to contribute back to the community. So if you come to the East Helena Christmas stroll, walk 2 more blocks east past the street closure. We couldn't get them to close the street by our church, so we got to just go on, walk down. We'll have our free will soup supper. Then really neat on the 14th of December, we're having a live nativity at the church from 4 to 7. Come on by. Now, real people, real animals sitting there in the church parking lot, a live nativity. And we just had a family that had a brand new little baby boy. His name's Patrick, and I kind of offered him up to be the baby Jesus. I was told no. The mama said no. So anyway, but please come on in to East Helena, enjoy it. Our church is active, and we're trying to get really involved in the community.
Well, that'll be great. Thank you, John. And yeah, I see Senator Dunwell. Thanks, Evan. What's going on?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Mary Ann Dunwell. I'm a state senator, and I don't know if I can top everything that everybody else has said, but let's try. Tomorrow is a very special day for this hometown Helena community. Jim, guess what it is?
Well, you let the cat out of the bag a week ago. I'm getting on.
No. So, we're so blessed that you get to celebrate another year, and I celebrate, and I'm sure we all celebrate all the goodness you bring to our community. Yeah. So in that vein, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jim. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you all. I'm touched. I'm humbled. I'm happy.
How old are you? 62?
I think I'll be 76 tomorrow, and my whole body's giving out on me. I tell you, it's strange being this old.
You know, I just say, it's just time for some new parts. I've been doing it, there was new almost.
I was out yesterday right after Travis. I had a dermatology appointment where they're cutting away these basal cell carcinomas on me. One thing after another.
Right. Well, I haven't had that done. That's why I have the scar beforehand. But then you're good to go.
Well, thanks, Senator Dunwell.
Oh, and real quick. So,
yeah, there's
Jim. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I want to ask you something.
Okay, so I was saying, has anybody felt this like hot wind throughout Helena past couple of days?
Legislators back in town.
Absolutely. Legislators are back in town. They leave this afternoon though, and of course I'm one of them. But they're in town, almost 150. Not quite everybody made it to the orientation and the caucus meetings where we legislators chose our leadership. Tuesday morning, it was caucus meeting. So the Senate Republicans, the Senate Democrats, House Republicans, House Democrats all chose their leadership. And so we carry on. We're ready to go when we are sworn in January. So, thank you.
That will be good. Thank you. You know, that's kind of what was on my mind. In addition to the caucuses, the governor did a little preliminary on his budget yesterday afternoon, and I'm trying to tie everything together, but I was looking for Eric Dietrich, Mr. Question, to ask if he's what?
He's sick.
Oh, no. He can't get sick. He's a journalist. Anyway, I wanted to ask if he had a comment on the property tax aspects of the governor's budget. And by the way, Eric's birthday was yesterday. Yeah. Haley told me that, so we were going to sing him happy birthday too, but I guess.
The property tax part is great.
Is it really? What do you know about it, Senator?
Well, the property tax part is great, and it's bipartisan, and it comes out of the property tax task force that the governor put together, bipartisan. And what we've got some really good fixes for homeowners who haven't gotten our tax bill yet for November, but we will. And what it does, it creates this is kind of wonky, but a homestead exemption for homeowners. And hopefully we're going to push for a homestead exemption for smaller businesses, because they're also the same property tax class 4 as homeowners, and they took a hit. Their property taxes went up. There's also, let's see, people with second homes, they don't get those exemptions. They do, I guess, for the first home, but the second home they don't. So just a lot of good things that we really hope. So not this time, but maybe even the next time in the spring when you get your property tax bill, it will be delightful instead of sticker shock. And there's, some good housing things, and I think we have an opportunity to really work together and move Montana forward. So
wow, really glad to hear that, Senator.
Stay tuned.
So let's approach it in that bipartisan fashion and hope for the best. Meanwhile, there's another property tax limitation initiative that's been filed, so the beat goes on. It gets wearying now with property tax. We're just overly reliant on it, but that's another story. But we've spent a lot of time talking property taxes here over the last year or so, so I appreciate the update and your good words about the governor's budget and the upcoming session, Senator Dunlop.
And happy birthday.
And we'll wish Eric a happy birthday too. I see Matt Farrell here. There's 2 Matts over there. You can go cut a Christmas tree, right, Matt?
Yeah.
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 Give him the yell.
Yeah, you can go cut a Christmas tree. $5. Come and see us at the Forest Service office. We'll give you a tag, and you can go out anywhere on Forest Service lands and cut yourself a tree. That's all.
Very good. Thank you, Matt. Yeah. Well, speaking of Matt, we got Matt Elshauser and Rebecca Stanfield with us. They're our guests this morning. Matt, let's kick off with Matt Elshauser at 406 Recycling. I would say whatever progress we've made in the area of recycling is largely due to this gentleman here.
Yeah.
Matt, when did you start the SAVE program? Yeah.
That was at Carroll College. SAVE, Student Advocates for Valuing the Environment, was at Carroll College, and we sort of started that in 2002 as a community organization. So we're a lot of folks at Carroll College. It was a student group to make it sustainable. We expanded it a bit, and then it became a whole thing. So we met you up in the legislature back in the day.
Way back in the day. So that was 22 years ago. And And Matt's just stayed the course. He's kept his shoulder to the wheel all this time. And whatever progress we made at the city in terms of that recycling area down at the transfer station and all that kind of, it's largely due to this gentleman. And he suffered mightily and labored mightily over that. I mean, just trying to rearrange the whole business model for solid waste was not easy. I mean, it was kind of like trying to get water to run uphill. That's my impression watching.
Still working on it.
He's still working on it. Well, enough about me. Let's give Matt a hand.
Well, thank you, Jim, and I forgot your birthday is America Recycles Day. And I know we should credit your business for some time. It was on the safe recycling route. And can everyone hear me okay? And you're a composter. All that. So I do have some slides.
Can people in the back hear him? He's pretty far away from the mic.
I can hold the mic. So.
Okay.
But yeah, so here today, tomorrow, November 15th, for one, is we'll have an electronics drive 406 recycling at Good Samaritan Thrift Store from 10 a.m. to 6. We used to do those every month. Now we're doing those about quarterly. So we'll announce our next one later this month, but it'll probably be the last Friday in January or somewhere in January. And America Recycles Day started in 1997 by the National Recycling Coalition, and the goal was to recognize the environmental opportunity of daily habits with recycling. So I've got a few slides here, but what you would see if you were looking at that slide more closely is almost everything by volume and weight can be either recycled or composted. So that's, especially as compost has grown, one of the growing waste, of course, is plastic. E-waste is another big one, but there are good opportunities. We hear bad examples, but there's a lot of good things happening. Next slide, please.
Hey, Matt, before you move on, explain what those colors are. What's the
Oh, sure. So those colors just show different parts of the waste stream. So the big blue one is pretty much paper and cardboard. The yellow ones are types of compost, I think, so yard trimmings, but it's basically showing the gray one, the dark gray is food waste. That's over 15%. There's at least 2 opportunities in Helena to recycle your food waste, if not composting yourself. And then smaller ones like textile, leather, wood. So yeah, it's...
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. And yeah, and then another one is not shown on that slide is things like commercial construction and demolition waste, which can be diverted as well. So sort of a fun local history. Jim talked about the sort of institutional resistance of the city to recycling. I'll say it nicely. But something happened in does anyone remember that garbage barge? Yeah. Yes. Yeah, so next time try recycling. Sort of fun Greenpeace banner there. But around 1987 was also around when the newer regulations for modern, what are called sanitary landfills, basically ones that have liners, came into being. So 2 things sort of happened. Next slide, please. And this would go to that institutional aspect is, at that time, trash had been growing really since World War II, but it went down drastically following that. Recycling kicked up, and it's continued to do so. So we sort of built a system assuming our waste would grow per capita, and really our waste leveled off per capita, and recycling increased, and now compost has increased. So we sort of have this legacy mortgage that prioritizes landfills that is just a general challenge. Next slide, please. Plastics. I think ocean plastics is sort of the new Mobro 4000. That was the garbage barge. Just the awareness of the oceans. A lot of that's the fishing waste and other problems, but that's sort of a catalyst to change we've seen, and I think that awareness of chemicals is really most things by weight and volume we can recycle. Some stuff we probably do just need to throw away or just completely avoid it altogether. Next slide, please. The economics of recycling in Montana is very robust. I actually did this study as a contractor at Department of Environmental Quality, but in 2003 we were able to find out there was at least $90 million in economic activity of recycling. Since doing various jobs, I know that's more. Next slide, please. So something to know about plastics in Helena is you'll hear a lot about plastics programs that aren't doing well or that only 9% ever has been recycled. But in Helena, we're talking about our 1 and 2 plastic, and that really is the priority of plastics to recycle. That's the majority of the single-use stuff, your milk jugs, your soda bottles, and it's thicker, rigid plastic that can go into products that are then durable goods. So if this carpet probably has a lot of recycled content from water bottles or milk jugs, and that's better than coming from petroleum overall. When you're recycling, you're trying to put resources back in the economy rather than have them come from virgin materials. And does anyone know what movie that's from? Can you see that? One word, plastics. All right. And then, and just as a contrast, so in plastics, the challenge is volume. With glass, it's more weight, so they're sort of the outliers on standard recycling. And really the big thing with plastics now is all the compostable alternatives. But yeah, that picture is Helena Recycling, and it's just a great, legitimate green program, so it shouldn't be confused with the overall. Shouldn't discourage you from doing your part with your blue bin or at the city programs. Next slide, please. Back one. So and I just brought plastics because that's the question I hear most about. But there's some exciting stuff where there's bacteria that breaks down plastics now. They found some in a plant in Japan years ago. There's a process to break down the hard to recycle plastic back into oil and natural gas. A professor at Carroll actually worked on some of those. It's more of an economic than a environmental issue to making those work and to be good programs. Next slide. And this is just a fun one if you can see in the center of the picture. So this is old salt. We heard from a lot of those folks recently. But one thing we do at 406 Recycling is we distribute for Eco Montana, but everything at Old Salt is compostable when you get your burger or salad. I've never seen anyone order one, but I hear they're good. But in the middle on the right, there's an insert that just shows a picture of all their compostable items. And they've made the investment to avoid aluminum foil because that's a type of, that really can't be recycled readily. And the sauce packet looks like plastic, but it is compostable plant-based material. So it breaks down, and they do have compost collection there. Next slide, please. Fun thing this summer, Lewis and Clark Brewery invested with Eco Montana and made all the cups at Alive at 5 were compostable. So there's those famous Save Legacy recycling collection tubes, and all those cups will be composted and feed worms for what they do. Next slide. You might recognize the person on the four-wheeler on the right. Haley, Matt, there's a lot of great people who help out 406 Recycling in these community efforts a lot. And this just shows recycling at Carroll College, where that SAVE Foundation started. And then on the lower right is Old Salt's Music Festival in Helmville, which is great if you haven't gone to it. Next slide. And everything there was compostable or recyclable. Red Ants and Symphony Under the Stars. You see some usual suspects, Matt and Haley. Next slide, please. Just an example of what electronics recycling we do. That's a giant printer coming out from the state. The middle slide is a picture of a big TV someone brings to us at these events. And the reason we've limited the events is our focus is more on businesses and we want to make sure there's a community outlet for TVs and monitors, but it's not something we can do every month. And on the right, it's just us shipping the semi-truck out. Really, like most recycling, you're consolidating things so they can go to be recycled. Next slide. Oh, so that's it. So happy Recycles Day, America Recycles Day. Any questions for me?
Recycling isn't really new to Helena. Because part of recycling is reusing. I can think about that yesterday, last week when 4 truckloads of furniture was picked up and moved out of my shop that had been redone. So that reusing is fairly important. And I think today we're going to start on a 64 Chevy Nova that's being repurposed and reused. But recycling has gone way back in Helena. Being Little Shell and being landless Indians, we survived off of the city dumps scavenging and slaughter plants. Most people didn't notice that down on Custer Avenue where the old dump was, they used to burn the trash and garbage. Pickup loads of tin cans left there every week, destined to Butte. Because they would take them tin cans and throw them into the holding ponds in Butte with a natural process called electrolysis. In about 2 years, those tin cans would be turned into copper cans so that they were able to keep the copper out of the water and not send it down the river. But in Helena, that scavenging was fairly well allowed in the city dump until model cities come around. And the city got a grant to do a landfill next to the landfill that used to be by the armory, where the creek used to run down from Last Chance Gulch, and that was bum jungle. And there was a large homeless camp that lived there. But they got this grant, and they weighed all the garbage that came in. So you had to weigh coming in, and you had to weigh leaving, so they could track how much you went. And there was myself on several occasions where I got my butt chewed for missing the scales when they come out heavier than I went in. So they did turn a blind eye. So there was one of those things where model cities kind of put us in a deficit for years to come. But thank you for all the work you've done since then.
And of course, the 3 R's are reduce, reuse, and that's a really good point.
Do you have a business card that I get out?
I might have one I'll get to you after the meeting, but 406 Recycling, 406recycling.com. We're not too hard to find.
Because I was looking for it and I don't see it.
I'll get it to you.
Okay, because I've been really disappointed. From my perspective, I don't see recycling. I can't afford to drive down to the dump and go to the recycling down there, because that's money that instead of going to gas money could go to my food. I mean, I'm really poor. And I hear all this good stuff about it, but I don't see it. And every time I hear about it, I go, where is it? I don't see any blue containers or whatever colored containers to put recycled stuff. I didn't know until today. I mean, I know there's lots of numbers, but what does numbers mean? I mean, I dare Amy Helen to be able to name on 9. I think it's 9. So I mean, I really don't feel the energy that you're feeling, and I really think, I don't know, from my perspective, you need to reach out broader and more deeply. If I don't feel it, I don't see it.
Sure. Yeah, and the most basic accessible recycling is the city drop-off sites at Safeway, the fairgrounds, down on Cruz Avenue. So there you can at least recycle your cardboard, cans, and pretty much all your paper, newspaper, magazine, office paper. But yeah, and there are some exciting things the city's looking at, and there's about looking at community food waste and other items. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Excuse me. Yeah, it's a long road, Jeff, but we're getting there. Let's move along, if we could. Rebecca Stanfield is with us from the Montana Jewish project once again. We haven't seen you in a while, Rebecca. I talked about your calendar, the calendar. 5,000, I mean, long time, long time. Good to see you. Let's welcome her, please.
Thank you so much for having me back. You haven't seen me very much because I'm not an early bird. And I was looking in Hebrew for the equivalent of like the early bird gets the worm. And all I could find is shacham, which means to rise early. So thank you for having me. I also have a little miscommunication with Haley that I was going to speak for 50 minutes, 50. So I didn't put together a PowerPoint. So I have a couple of things to talk about and then a couple of slides. So I am the executive director of the Montana Jewish Project. We are the folks that reacquired or bought back historic Temple Emmanuel on Ewing Street, in large part thanks to many of you here and to the entire Helena community, not just the Jewish community. It's the oldest synagogue in Montana and in the Northwest, and we are deeply grounded in the history of this community. The door to door, from generation to generation, is something we think about a lot. But we are so much more than a building. The last year for us has seen incredible strides in organization and growth, hiring 2 full-time staff people, and really trying to fulfill our mission of fostering and strengthening Jewish life across Montana, including in Helena, and making our state a more accepting and vibrant place for us all. So I'm just going to touch on a couple of things that we're doing. For those who are in Helena, we have regular things happening there that you could and should participate in. We have a monthly fiction book club. We have building tours. We have a library that is accessible and open to all. And we will be starting Hebrew classes for adults, for those that are interested in that. We also are very attuned to the fact that most of our Jewish families are interfaith families. So that means one partner has some connection to Judaism and the other doesn't. And this is important when you think about our work, because Judaism is a religion for some people, but it's also a tradition, a culture, a community, a set of values, a history, as the gentleman mentioned, the calendar. And we are a very pluralistic and diverse community that is fully grounded and rooted in Montana. Montana Jewish folks are not like New York Jewish folks or LA Jewish folks. So I just want to touch on a couple of things to start with. As we are grounded in the history, we are not a museum. We very much consider ourselves a living community that can look back to 1891. And we're very proud to have recently received the full Humanities Montana grant for a project called Lador Vador, or Living Stories of Jewish Montana. We're working with Clay Scott. I don't know if you guys know the journalist Clay Scott. He used to do Mountain West Voices. He's an Emmy Award-winning journalist. There's a person in this room that I'd like to interview, but it's all Clay. And it's very community-oriented, and it's open to everyone. So we'll be having community trainings in 3 cities, Helena, Bozeman, and Great Falls, where Clay will train you on how to interview someone, how to listen. And these are skills you can take out into the community. You are welcome to help interview folks for this project. These are not formal oral histories. What we are really interested in capturing are the memories and the experiences of people in Montana connected to Jewish life in days past. Clay recently went and interviewed a gentleman, Norman Barnett, who lives in Delaware at this time. But his parents and grandparents were from Helena. He's in his 80s. And the stories that Norman tells are not the things you're going to find in the history book, if they were an history book, because it's a really overlooked area. So Norman was telling me about Steve with the area that's now the bar that Sea Publix owns. I think that's Confluence. So before the fire, that was his dad's kind of like hardware farm equipment store. And across the street, his mom had a sewing store. But also in that business with his mom was Ida Levy, who, despite the windbag's claims, was the first madam in Helena. And she was fully part of the community, though. Harry Barnett, who unfortunately has passed away, may his memory be a blessing, got arrested a couple times for underage drinking, as law officers sometimes do. And it was Ida who bailed him out. And I think you guys are probably aware of the Jewish holiday of Passover. It's a biggie that lasts for 8 days, and you can have multiple meals using food and using a tradition of storytelling to talk about the Jews moving from Egypt as slaves into freedom. So the first night is typically the main night. You have family there, you have your state senators, you have the good people, good in quotes. Everyone on the second night had a fight for Ida Levy because she was the best cook. So these are the kinds of things that we want to capture. The transcripts will be made available to any academic institution or anyone that wants to write about them. But the real goal is to have these public presentations. Clay's going to weave together voices into a whole. And we'll do presentations of those with images of letters and photos. And Helena, Butte, Great Falls, and Missoula. And that's just for this year. So it'll be a program that's expanding and expanding. How much time do I have? Only 50 minutes. The other big thing that we're doing, and I really would love Senator Dunwell's feedback on this at some point. I'm not sure you guys are aware of it, but even prior to the war in the Middle East, Montana has been under a tsunami, a tidal wave, whatever you want to call it, of anti-Semitism. There's also been a corresponding rise in hate. And I don't want to bring us down so early in the morning. So we are launching an 18-month program called Building Bridges to the legislature and to elected officials all over Montana. We have a kickoff event on January 15th in historic Temple Emmanuel with live klezmer music coming from Missoula, wine, food, and conversations. And our whole idea is that whatever our political differences, whatever our faith tradition differences, we are one Montana. And we can't, I joke with a friend of mine, like, we can't end hate and anti-Semitism. It's always going to be there. Freedom of speech. And I turn, though, to something from the Pirkei Avot, which is the sayings of the fathers, ancient teachings from the Jewish folks back in the day, long ago. And the one that I really turn to is that you are not obligated to finish the work, but neither are you free to abandon it. So we're trying to start the work and carry it forward. And that goes into other areas as well. This is our third year of sending out lesson plans, wonderful picture books about the Not in Our Town in 1993 in Billings, to any public school teacher that requests them. As usual, we've had more than, we can only afford 50, so 50 are being sent out. And the lesson plan isn't like, yay Jews. The lesson plan is, how can we, it's kind of designed for the 4th and 5th grade level, how can we in a classroom accept and be curious about everyone in our classroom, whatever their faith tradition, color of skin, their tribal affiliation, their economic status. And these are a hit. And we love to sort of chart where they go every year, and it's usually into rural communities, quite often into towns on our Native American reservations or towns bordering them. And as with so much we do, we're not doing this alone. our neighbors, the First Presbyterian Church, has a committee that's going to help us pack these, which is a lot of work, I have to say. So there's that. We are also mindful, though, of being Jewish and wanting to have Jewish events for Jewish people. Rabbis are thin on the ground, so we're very proud to be supporting lay leaders in Helena, Missoula, and Bozeman in a one-year intensive program called Shlichei Tzibur. So it's a training so that those folks can lead services, they can lead religious events. We are always in collaboration with Rabbi Ed Staffman, with Rabbi Sonia, with Rabbi Lori Franklin, with the two rabbis up in the Glacier Jewish community. We've got a lot more going on, but let's turn to tomorrow. We have that slide. The thing about Paul's. So, as I said, the Shlichei Tzibur program is to lead people to spiritually guide. But a lot of people, including my brother-in-law, who's a rabbi, aren't really that connected to the religious aspect of things, which I know sounds really weird, but it's true. And so we're always looking to connect around, like I said, tradition, culture, community, values, and history. And here we have tradition, values, and history on Friday. Everyone is welcome. We're super fortunate to have Paul Blumenthal, who's lived in Montana, I think, for over 25 years, and in Helena for 3 or 4. He's an amazing artist, and he happens to be Jewish. So we're having an exclusive opening of that. And then Paul will going to talk about the Jewish values and the Jewish meaning in his work. There will, as always, be wine and appetizers. And at the end, we're welcoming you all of Helena, to join us in the Shabbat blessing. So saying the blessings that you would say before the Sabbath comes, which involves very short prayers that are transliterated so everyone can participate in them, over candles, wine, and best of all, challah bread from Deer Potato Bakery. I think that's, well, like I said, a little bit more time. I think that's where I'd like to close and just take some questions about the work we're doing, and if you want to be involved or anything like that. Yes. Before we do the questions, can you go to the QR codes? We have a young staff person who assures me that QR codes are the way to go. So the first one will be to receive our newsletter. We only ask for money once a year in our newsletter. So it's just a way to find out what's happening, like this event for Paul, or our open Hanukkah party, when we schedule that, or the menorah lighting in the Capitol, or the legislative event if you want to volunteer. And then the second, I don't know how long it takes to do QR codes because I hate them, is if you want to register for the Friday event. Everything we do is free. And we're not sitting on a pot of money, so we always value and appreciate your support, whether it's a few dollars or whether it's volunteering. But for security reasons, we're so fortunate to have the Helena Police Department, off-duty officers keeping people safe, and we do ask that you register, and it's completely free. All right, questions, sorry.
Hi, Rebecca. Thanks for being here today. West Vice City Council in East Helena. We have 3 Star of David Asarco windows that
They're on my to-do list.
That were donated by the Guggenheim family back in the 1890s. And we have a desire to work with the Montana Jewish Project to showcase those windows in some fashion. They're sitting in City Hall in East Helena. They're completely restored. They're absolutely beautiful, and we don't really have a method to display them properly. We would also like to, with the Building Bridges program that you have, as well as with the oral history of the Jewish faith in Montana, we would like to partner with the Montana Jewish Project on something to bring East Helena into the fold as well. So I just wanted to bring that up so that we can somehow collaborate and do something to showcase those windows, but also bring some history to it as well.
That is amazing. Thank you so much. And I apologize. Wes emailed us weeks ago, and I was on vacation and came home and got pneumonia for 2 weeks. So thank you so much. We would be so honored to display those for whatever amount of time you'd like. Yes, sir.
I have a few friends who are like die-hard anti-Jew, just totally anti-Semitic. How, I mean, I don't know how to address this. Does your organization have any tools that would help me feel more comfortable when I'm around people who openly voice their hatreds for anything Jewish?
I'm sorry that you have to listen to that.
It's horrible.
And, yeah.
I feel like
we do have materials that we can tailor for you. I'll make sure I get you my card. We do a lot of work when we have anti-Semitism emerging from elected officials or even from our universities. So in early December, we're meeting with folks at Montana Tech because they hired or rehired a person to a position with responsibilities teaching students who is an avowed neo-Nazi, racist, and other great things. So I'm trying to be sarcastic, I'm sorry. But yes, I'll give you my card and I'm happy to work with you on things to say to your questions to rebut that.
yes, that's what it's all about. Is that they always, like, I say something that I think is true about Jewish, and they always find something that escalated. And it's all about escalation all the time. And Donald Trump is escalation, and there's so much escalation. And I'm just like, it makes me want to go back to a mental facility. It's more stable there.
Yeah. It's all under a table. No, I'd be happy to work with you.
Yeah.
Emily Frazier.
I think this is a good time to remind everyone that the one thing we should not be tolerant of is intolerance. So if there are people in our lives that are saying things that we're not okay with, tell them, I'm not okay with you saying that. If you want to have a relationship with me.
And that's where I'm at.
I do also want to be clear that the materials we have and the curriculum boxes and some of the work we've done is not just about anti-Semitism, it's also about the rising levels of racism, anti-LGBTQ, anti-Indigenous perspectives. Some of you might have gotten flyers on your card, they seem rather random, and it's just a mashup of the most loathsome things you could say about other people. So I agree with Emily, like it's not acceptable to any group. Well, come on by and see us. Thank you so much for welcoming me again, and happy birthday.
Good to see you. Keep up your good work. And hate has no home here. John Driscoll said that to us a couple weeks ago. Emma?
Tangentially related, the Education Foundation's Great Conversations event is coming up on November 20th. It'll be a great evening. We're going to have a lot of conversations about a lot of different kind of hot topics, but especially that idea of building bridges and connecting people with different kinds of viewpoints maybe they haven't been exposed to, or maybe they really need to hear some truths about what is and what is not acceptable in terms of tolerance. My table still has openings. Please come, because it will be very awkward if I'm alone in talking about book bans and censorships and attempted pulling things off shelves in libraries.
Very good. Yeah, see Emma, please, and join her. And a great conversation. One event to keep your ears open for is the annual Hanukkah celebration in the rotunda of the Montana Capitol, where rabbis from all over the state come, and it's a lighting of the menorah. Very moving, very beautiful celebration, and we'll keep your ears open for that. And we'll look forward to that.
When is that, was the question?
The rabbis are still setting the date. Hanukkah is very late this year. It begins on Christmas Day and then goes for 8 days. That's a theme from Passover.
Yeah.
So there's been some thought of doing it before Hanukkah, if the rabbis will do that, because we're worried that no one will be there if it's that week between Christmas and New Year's. So stay tuned. It'll be in the media. You're welcome to check our website. We'll keep you posted.
I almost brought our menorah here this morning and just to display it, but I'll do it one of these weeks between now and Hanukkah. Well, it's 8 o'clock, and Rebecca, thank you very, very much. This was uplifting. And keep up the good work. Well, let's knock off. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming this fine morning, and we'll see you next week.